The Man Whore Podcast is sponsored by HotMovies.com. Try out some ethical paid-for porn for free with none of those hidden fees or secret recurring subscriptions when you sign up at HotMovies.com/bonus and use the promo code MANWHORE. Now let's get to the show.
Welcome to the Man Whore Podcast.
Shout out to all the swingers and lifestylers, nudists, and fans with benefits. This is Billy Procida, and you're listening to the Man Whore Podcast. Hey everyone, how you doing? Welcome to the show if you're new. Welcome back if you're not. I am your host, Billy Procida. If you are new to my show, this is a podcast where I typically talk to women I've hooked up with about sex, dating, and why we didn't work out. However, this week's special guest is not one of my former flames. No. This week I have got on sex researcher Sarah Constantine, who's going to tell us some more about her research about women's fantasies. Yeah. And that is my co-host for the intro.
Hello.
Here, recording here in in Mexico,
Cancun, Mexico.
in this beautifully by the ocean at Desire Resorts. I am here with Kenzie.
Hello.
You may remember Kenzie from episode 200, where her and Lindsay they interviewed me, asking me the questions you wanted to hear. And she has also joined me at Desire for this weekend because
I'm a very lucky girl.
Yeah. Important person in my life.
I guess. Something like that.
And really likes blowing me whenever I ask. So,
I earned my way to Mexico.
Yeah, blew her way to Mexico. That's the next one. Well, we did blow your way to Brooklyn. Now she's going to blow her way to Cancun. Stay tuned to Man Whore Podcast 2019.
We went Boston, California, Mexico. Big skips, but we made it work.
Well, Kenzie, thanks for joining me. Oh man, I forgot my beer. Anyways, so we are on the closing hours. We have our final night here at Desire, and we want to tell you about our stay in a bit.
Oh fuck!
But first.
Show dates,
people. Show dates. All right. And don't skip this because I have a very big announcement coming up in a second. First off, I got to say, Mishawaka, Indiana, I'm going to be in you on September 18th at 7 o'clock at Smokestack Brew. I will be featuring there. And then I just realized I think it's Dayton, Ohio. I really should check these things. I think Dayton, Ohio, or Cincinnati, don't remember which, but September 20th, I will be at the Village Cup at 7 o'clock. So you come on out to those shows. It should be fun. But we've got a big special announcement. Big announcement right now. Billy knows that y'all enjoyed the live podcast from Man Whore Con, where I was on stage with not one, not two, and also not four, sadly. 3 of my ex-partners on stage in front of a paying audience, because fuck me, right? Well, we are going to do it again in Los Angeles, baby. The city of angels. The city of the angels nice enough to sleep with me.
The Man Whore's coming to California.
Man Whore's coming to Cali. Put it in the calendar. Tickets going on sale soon, and I will let you know when. But right now, November 4th, 7 p.m. at the Comedy Dojo. It's a room above the Sycamore. I don't know where that is because I don't know L.A. and your crazy fucking neighborhoods. All right, I'm still just trying to figure out South Brooklyn. So, but put it in the calendar for now. November 4th, 7 p.m. I want to see you there. Tickets will be on sale soon. And if you want to be the first ones to get your tickets, Kenzie, do you know what you do?
Subscribe to Patreon? Or email list.
Sorry. Sign up for that email list, baby.
You should just subscribe to Patreon.
You should subscribe to Patreon. We can talk about that later. But get on the mailing list. You go to manwhorepod.com, okay? I've actually revamped the website. Finally switched over to Squarespace. Don't know what took me so long. So it's under construction, but you'll see a sign-up list page there. Just go to the website. You sign up for the mailing list. You will be the first ones to know when tickets are on sale. It's crazy how the live show came about because I woke up on Friday morning. I have to go to I have to go to LA in a couple months anyway. And then I just floated it to a friend and said, hey, if I wanted to do a live show, would you want to produce it? And he was like, sure. And this is like 10 a.m. Then by the end of the night, I had a producer, I had a location, I had a date, and I had 3 women who agreed to do the show.
Wow.
So it's going to be great. Can't wait. Kenzie, before we tell everybody about Desire, I want to read an iTunes review. Haven't done one of these in a long time. I was going to read a 1-star review that somebody left, but iTunes, I guess, thought it wasn't appropriate because they've deleted it. So, but I do want to share some love from username Coffee Rack, Coffee RAC. And the subject of the review is Feeling the Love. Kenzie, do you want to read it?
Yeah. All right. Feeling the Love from Coffee Rack. I like your username already. If you like to laugh and like sex, ! This is the podcast for you! 2 exclamation points. They're very excited. Billy by far is the best sex podcast and keeps me
Hold on, I gotta start
laughing.
jerking off real quick.
Again, multiple exclamation points. Never can listen to him in public because he turns me on, kissy face.
Oh!
And Billy just came all over the porch.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Thank you, Coffee Rack, for that nice review. Guys, look, I know sometimes I ask for things that involve money and you can't do it. Maybe I ask for things that involve a location, you can't go there. But you know what you can do? You can leave me a rating and review on iTunes or Stitcher. I don't know what other fucking services do reviews,
I don't think
but
I've reviewed you yet.
Go. Wow. Bitch. Okay. I brought you to fucking Mexico.
Okay, I'll leave a review.
But yeah, you go, just leave me a review. It's really nice. It's really simple. It's really easy. And it helps other people find the show because it will bump us up the rankings. So yeah, do that. But now, hey, we're at Desire. You can probably hear the ocean behind us. So
Got
Desire
a beautiful sunset.
is a beautiful sunset. We Desire Resorts is one of these like all-inclusive, couples-only, clothing optional resorts.
Clothing discouraged.
Clothing definitely discouraged. I'm not supposed to say it's a sex resort or a swinger resort, although there are, nudists and all that stuff. Oh, we got some titties! Yeah, man. And a nice
those
ass.
Panties, damn, girl.
Love it. Our neighbors are flashing us through the sliding glass door.
We stole their
and
table.
I'm into it. She's so cute.
Super cute.
Super cute. So it's like one of these resorts. It's there are swingers here, but there are also nudists here. There are people just curious about the lifestyle. They're just curious about being in a clothing optional environment.
Yeah.
You don't have to be into fucking in front of people, but some people just switching it up. There are certainly plenty of people who do it.
Yeah, absolutely.
We did a lot of it.
Yes.
Some of it, like, literally right in this spot.
Yeah, right here.
So, so Desire hit me up. They're like, yo, we want to send you down. Just record something while you're here. So we record a really cool episode that you will hear in the coming weeks. But yeah, I'm just enjoying my vacation. We leave tomorrow. And
I'm very sad about it. Going
So
back
sad.
to grad school life.
Well, Kenzie, why don't you tell us about, like, what we did here, what down.
Oh, man. Like, this has been a crazy weekend. I mean, we
don't deserve any of this.
I know.
We're too poor for this place.
Yeah, I found out, like, what our room costs, and, like, that's what I make in a month as a graduate student. So I showed up Friday morning, and, immediately got naked, got in the pool. They had this fucking foam party where they filled the entire pool with
Use your words.
Yes. I'm a few drinks in. This is fine. They filled the entire pool with foam out of this, like, penis foam gun. And a bunch of naked people in this pool full of foam. They had someone coming around with Jenga blocks, like, where we played different sexy games. They had poured a beer down Billy's penis and had me drink the beer off his penis. And that was just, like, the first couple hours I arrived here.
That was the first couple hours.
After a red eye.
Hilarious. We've met some really interesting people, some great people. And what I've been really into is, like, a diversity of bodies, ages, relationship models, and reasons for being here.
Yeah. It's really interesting because, you hear all about Billy's life, but I come from a very similar, if not, like, even more just, like, open poly situation. You know, I have 4 other partners. All of my sex parties are like, everyone is like fucking everyone. No one is there as a couple. So like, this is actually a very weird experience for me in a really fun and interesting way to be like in a very like couple centric environment. Like everyone's got their person, and then
we've had to like change up our game, like to approach and like hit on people. I mean, great. I'm getting hit on because like I'm getting kind of they're making me stand out the resort. So like people who I haven't met yet like know who I am because they saw like my picture on like the TV or something.
Yeah, Billy's got like the podcast advertised all over the resort on the TV screens. Like,
yeah, so
watching him nearly cry at dinner last night as I kept seeing his face go by. It was very cute.
Yeah, so I've been like seeing like some people, like some women just come up to me and like be like, "Oh, you're like really, really gorgeous," and then they just grab my cock and.
It's so difficult to be you.
She's so pretty. I'm like meeting all. I'm like having a resurgence in like how high all like women over 40 are. It's insane.
Yeah.
Because like just today, like I got my dick sucked in the pool.
Yeah.
But it's like hot older woman, and then this other chick came over and she's like, I saw that and was like really turned on by it. I was like, you should have joined us. She's like, I almost did, and then, oh god, my dick's like starting to inflate just thinking about it. Yeah, just met some fun people, played with some great people.
Yeah.
Oh, we met that couple last night. There's been like several couples we played with.
Yeah.
And they've all been great.
Yeah.
But like last night's couple,
so great.
I'm like crushing.
Yeah.
Kind of hard.
Yeah. Oh my god.
Say what you know is gonna make me hard. Say it for me. Say it for me.
They are Southern Democrats.
Oh.
He was so worried we were going to play with Trump supporters, and we had this couple, this hot couple
tell
from
me how
South
it felt
Carolina.
to vote for Hillary. Yeah.
Like we were talking after we fucked, and she's like, "Yeah, like I volunteer for like political parties locally."
And I'm just like, which color? Like she's like, and we think we have a chance of flipping the district. I'm like, to which color? Because before we got here, I texted you. I was like, hey, I just had a realization. We might end up running into like Trumpy people because I guess they fuck too. Which is a weird thing.
Unfortunately.
Right? It's like I have to remember. It's like, I guess they do stuff. Like,
if you voted for Trump, you don't deserve to fuck.
Well, they don't deserve to fuck you.
They don't deserve to fuck.
I didn't. She said it, not me.
Yeah, and send your angry emails to me.
So and so now Kenzie's been trying to keep me off of politics this weekend, and this woman's husband was like trying to distract me. Like, what about this thing? And then I said, and she said, the party that like has votes for compassion and stuff. And then I just gave her a hug. I was like, I am so relieved to hear that.
I think he came again.
Yeah. So they were fun. I don't know. I'm just having such a blast here, and like. Food's good, like it's a great environment, like all inclusive. By the way, like I've learned how to manage my drinking because I've learned how to give myself like a light buzz throughout the day instead of just getting hammered at random points.
Yeah.
The going dancing at night. I'm excited to dance tonight.
You're so much fun to dance with, by the way. I don't think we'd ever done that before. And I fucking love dancing, and Billy is a great dancer. I'm just gonna say that. You're super fun to dance with. That was like a fun thing to experience this weekend. Louder, okay.
Well, thank you. What's been like your favorite parts of being here? Oh, by the way, how about you think about it? I just want to describe, like, they hooked me up with like this sick room that I don't deserve to have. There's like a jacuzzi that fits like 6-8 people in it, in the room.
Yeah.
There's already a hot tub jacuzzi thing at this resort. They gave me one in the room. There's a big ass bed. The only downside I think is like they need to have a sign that says to keep your door closed, the sliding door closed, because
they do.
They do?
Yeah, it's in little letters on the door.
Oh, well then I'm an idiot. I was about to say the other word.
Yeah, I'm proud of you.
No, I'm just retarded.
Fuck you.
No, because like the condensation, I'm just not used to this, like the humidity, like just this tropical environment. So I'll like open the door and then the AC will like melt and then our room becomes a slip and slide. But I'm learning. Yeah. I also overflowed the jacuzzi.
Oh my god.
Yo, we woke up this morning and at like 8 a.m. Kenzie got out of bed for whatever reason, and then she goes like, Billy, you left the
fucking jacuzzi on.
But like I didn't react to that. You said it's overflowing, and I jumped out like she screamed fire.
So
that woke me up
to like half an inch of water on our floor because we forgot to turn the fucking jacuzzi off.
Yeah, we just had too much fun with them last night.
Yeah, we were so distracted.
So what's like your favorite parts of Desire? Where have they been?
Oh, man. I mean, like...
By the way, I'm not being paid to say it about this now. I'm being paid to say this about the resort later on a different episode. I just need to tell you how much fucking fun I'm having.
God, like... I mean, it's so hard to pick a favorite part. Like, I really like the vibe in the pool during the day because, like, they facilitate some games. So it's, like, you know, friendly, flirty. Like, you're mostly just chatting with people.
A little bit dick sucky.
Yeah, a little bit dick sucky. But, like, yeah, like, I sucked frosting off some guy's dick the other day. But, like, that was, like, casual. Like, friendly dick sucking.
Friendly dick sucking.
Friendly dick sucking in volleyball games.
Uh-huh.
So they come around with games to, like, get you, like, a little bit, like, flirty, sexual. Well, you know, like, you're out in the daylight. Like, so you like, make some friends. You, like, make some connections. And then they have, at night, they have the theme nights and the dance floor. And I fucking love dancing. I've always, you know, loved clubbing and, like, you know, hang out with a bunch of fucking academics. So it's hard for me to, like, get people who want to go out and get slutty and dance with me. When you're hanging out with mostly scientists. So, like, I love being here. I love going and, like, being able to go dancing, and they have the playroom. So, like, the transition, like, it's really fun to see people, like, you know, just, like, casually at the pool during the day, and then people get fucking dolled up at night, and I love that transformation.
Mm-hmm. Well, this place has just been incredible. I really encourage y'all to check it out if you've ever been interested in, like, doing a vacation. I will warn it's very heteronormative.
Yeah,
they do queer weekends, which I appreciated, knowing that they, like, get inclusive like that.
Yeah,
but you know, it is a place where, like, you need to come as, like, a depending on the weekend, like, an opposite sex pairing. Like, you can't be, like, a single guy and come here, which, you know, has its pros and cons, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But otherwise, like, you all should check this place out. Desire Resorts. We are at the Riviera Maya spot. We have not gone to the Pearl Resort, which I hear is a little bit more low key, a little bit more nudist than swinger.
Okay.
But there's, you know, it's also, I hear, is fantastic.
Yeah.
There will be a, you know, I guess a Man or Podcast affiliate, like a promo code. Mm-hmm. That'll happen soon. And stay tuned for that. I'm just getting that set up. Do you have any closing thoughts on Desire?
Gosh. I mean, this has just been a whole, like, amazing experience for me. Like, nothing I've ever experienced before. I mean, you guys will just have to wait to hear the Desire episode because there's some fun there.
Yeah. Oh, and if you want to see how Desire was for me, check out my social media. There's some stuff on Facebook, some stuff on Twitter. I think where you're going to see the most is Instagram, because I'm going to archive a Desire story so you can kind of relive and see what I was going through while I was here. They do have a limit on photography, so, like, we can't, you know, do tons of it. But I think I give you guys a good idea.
Yeah.
Here's the thing that 15-year-old Billy was here for. All the TVs had like Playboy Channel and Porn Channel subscribed. So, like, I had those playing, like, nonstop. And, you know, because I can't afford Playboy and the other thing and that other channel or website.
Right.
I can't manage all these subscriptions. So, you know what? I like hotmovies.com. Hotmovies.com is a pay-per-minute porn site. You buy a bunch of minutes. You can watch all the porn you want from your minute load. I mean, you can get, like, 300 minutes of porn viewing for, like, $30. The only thing I don't like is that you can, like, at the end of the month, see literally how much porn you watched. You're like, I bought, like, 1,000 minutes. Where'd they go? I only have 17 left. It's like, oh, I guess that's what happens when you have a lazy Sunday. But I do enjoy it, and they have such a wide variety of porn. Mm-hmm. So many categories, so many stars on there. Do you watch porn?
Not really.
Not really. What could we get you into?
God, oh man. I mean, I just want all the queer stuff.
They got queer porn on there. They got the cool haircuts.
Yeah.
They got the people using dental dams. They got Crash Pad series.
Yeah.
Which everyone knows I'm a big fan of. Big fan of Crash Pad series. Shout out to Pink and White and Jizzly and all them and Shine. So you go to hotmovies.com. You can try it out for free. They do free trials. Most people, if you're an everyday normal person, you get a 20-minute free trial. But you know what? When you're a fan whore, fan whore with benefits or not, you go to You go to hotmovies.com/bonus, use promo code MANWHORE, you get a 40-minute free trial. Oh. Or you can just get 20 extra minutes on top of any package you purchase. All you got to do is go to hotmovies.com/bonus, promo code MANWHORE. But big fan of it. I think the model is great. I think that's the future of porn, is this pay per minute thing. I can't tell if like we're echoing down there and they can just hear us.
Yeah, probably.
Whatever.
The guy who works there just gave us a thumbs up.
Okay.
Yeah.
Kenzie, thank you for co-hosting this intro with me.
Thank you for letting me.
I'm looking forward to our last night at Desire together.
Yes.
Tonight's theme, every night has like a theme night, and tonight is lingerie and lipstick.
Yeah, I'm going to put some makeup on it.
I've got my menagerie, which I think you can still use promo code MANWHORE for free shipping. I'm not sure.
It's sexy. I'd seen it on Patreon or whatever before, but this is my first time seeing it in person, and I am into it.
This lacy number, high-waisted. I feel sexiest when I wear my menagerie. Again, I'm not being paid to say that. I just genuinely feel that way. And she can put. Now the guy's dress code is supposed to be like, I don't know, black or something. I'm like, fuck that. I'm wearing my menagerie because fuck gender norms. And then she can put some lipstick on me, and then we're gonna fuck around with some people.
Yeah,
I want to make. I want to eat more pussy tonight. I did not eat enough pussy on this trip.
Well, I'm sorry.
I mean, I've eaten your pussy a lot.
Yeah.
Have I eaten your pussy an adequate amount?
Yes.
Or could it have been more?
I mean, there's
We're gonna
no
teach
such
you to
thing.
be mean one
There's
day.
no such thing as too much.
Okay.
But I know I'm some work, so like
Well,
you got to do other things.
I'm looking forward to chatting with some really cute people who I've been flirting with all day.
Yeah.
But now I got to bring you this week's guest. It's time. It's time. We got to talk with Sarah Constantine. She does she just finished doing research on female fantasies, interviewing a ton of women about it and analyzing the data. We had an interesting conversation about all of that, and then we also have a little bit of talk about her life. So let's go ahead and get to my conversation with Sarah Constantine. Well, I can hear you there. Yeah, for sure. I just don't know how comfortable you are.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Okay.
You good?
I think so.
Oh, Sarah Constantine.
All right.
The now somewhat comfortable Sarah Constantine. Welcome. Thanks for coming in.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. I've been talking. I feel like I've been following you on Twitter for a few years.
Yeah.
So I feel like this episode's like mildly long in the making.
Mm-hmm. That's true. But my research is like legitimately finished now, so it's probably a year ago, but so it's probably good we did it now because I didn't have all the statistics necessarily double checked at that point.
Is that why we had the gap from like when I first hit you up to now, because you were still wrapping things up?
Yeah, and I was in San Diego too.
That one also is typically a barrier, is being not here.
Right. Yes.
So wait, what research? Whatever could this be? You do research? Research about what?
Well, yeah. So I actually was not really keen on the idea of doing research so much, but it was part of my doctoral program. So, and yes, the requirements. So I was like, okay, if I'm going to do this and spend like 3 years, it turned out to be like more like 6 years, but researching something, I'd have to do something that was fascinating to me. So that led me to wanting to look at sexual fantasies. And then, with research, you start with a broad concept, and then you think you're going to figure out everything there is to know about sexual fantasies. And then, lots of floggings from the institutions. And anyway, you narrow it down. So I looked specifically at, primarily heterosexual women. So it's an important distinction because I did have to narrow down my sample. Women who identified as primarily heterosexual. And I asked them online about their fantasies, about a bunch of different psychological measures and interpersonal measures and attachment measures, which is something I could explain what that is at some point.
What is it?
Okay. So attachment. All right. Let's see how brief I can make this. So it comes from John Bowlby was sort of the founder of attachment theory, but we'll skip over.
I know John.
Really?
No.
Oh,
good guy. Owes me money.
Yeah. Okay. So he actually, interestingly, wasn't really. So he wasn't really raised by his parents. He was raised by, I think,
wolves,
multiple sort of caregivers, which is something I can relate to in some ways. But anyway, he developed sort of a theory through observation about what happens when infants are separated from their parents or caregivers. And both in sort of short experimental situations where you could identify based on observing what sort of the security of their attachment style. Now how do you define that? Basically just how the extent to which the infants, when they were reunited with their mother or parent, did they sort of go to them eagerly? Did they sort of protest? Were they angry? And based on that, sort of develop these different categories of attachment security.
And so how does that play into relationships? Because right now you just sound like, it sounds like you're describing what's going on at the border.
Right.
So,
it's like really bad to separate kids from their parents.
Really bad. It's
like,
especially bad if they're in cages. Like
right.
really bad.
Lifelong trauma. Yes. But yeah, so anyway, so it started as a developmental theory, but then it was, after whatever, I don't know how many years, it started to be sort of applied to romantic love, theories about romance and, partnership, marriage, whatever, relationships. So adult romantic relationships. And so, it's been found that there's some continuity between our sort of infant and childhood attachment styles and our romantic relationship styles. And so there's sort of this mystical, to me, like 50% of the population that is supposedly securely attached, which like I don't think I've ever met one of those people, but maybe we all hang out in different crowds. And that means that basically relationships should kind of go pretty smoothly because there's an expectation of like needs that you can express your needs and that need can be met by.
Yeah, I don't think that exists. I don't think that's a real thing, a smooth relationship.
Right.
No.
So for the rest of us, we're either, at first it was sort of a avoidant or anxious, but now
being anxious of attachment or being avoidant of attachment.
Yeah. So so those are two different, so those are both insecure styles. Mm-hmm. But they can look very different and they have some different correlates to them.
So what about it's such a common thing you hear from like, especially women in New York or just in general is like dudes who are afraid of commitment. Mm-hmm. Like we call that avoidment. Because they're just trying to bang everybody and not settle down. Well,
it's actually, there's interesting gender differences, which is that's already kind of been established, but the more avoidant men and women tend to have more fears of commitment or hesitance to kind of get close. And anxious is kind of more of the person who's always falling in love and always getting their heart broken and always wanting
whoever does that sound like everyone
and acknowledgement and admiration that they're okay because theoretically we didn't get that growing up.
Oh, that's real resonant right now.
Yeah. Yeah. And so, but I looked at women, again, in this day and age, cis females.
Okay.
Right. And so past research has shown that people who are insecurely attached tend to have, not surprisingly, more difficulties navigating romantic relationships and then have lower sort of both sexual and sort of whatever relationship satisfaction.
Mm. So you were asking these women about their sexual fantasies. That was kind of like the crux of the research.
Yeah,
right?
that was the part that was new. Or yeah.
What do you mean by new? Like no one's really done that or
okay, so new as in, okay, a lot of the attachment research is pretty clear how attachment relates to psychological symptoms, to romantic satisfaction. So I looked at that stuff, but that was already kind of a given. But the fantasy was, so at first I didn't know what I was going to study about the fantasies, but what I ended up, there was two things. One is that I asked them to describe in as much detail as they would like, a preferred or frequent or recurrent sexual fantasy. So I have narratives. So that's cool. But I also wanted to like finish grad school. So I also attached like quantitative measures to the fantasies. So I started out looking at different sort of emotions that the person felt about their fantasies. And the only ones that kind of fit my model, so to speak, were fear and guilt. So I had people, after they wrote their fantasies, I had them say rate how much fear or guilt they felt. Just vaguely, it was kind of vaguely worded. Like, when you think about this fantasy,
what do you feel when
Yeah,
you think about having a rape fantasy? How does that make you feel?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that's
other than turn the fuck on, right?
Right,
It's like
right.
I assume that is that the phrasing though that you use in research? Turn the fuck on, or
No, but I mean, I think I did ask about arousal, but and I don't know, for some reason those things.
I assumed the arousal was a given because we're asking about the fantasy, so I guess
Right.
it's like maybe like the residual feeling, like after
Right.
the type of thing where it's like after I come to some weird porn, like how do I feel? Is it shame? Sometimes because the internet's a deep dive, and you'd be like, how did I end up here?
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
So that was new as far as I knew, as far as I know. I didn't find any other study that looked at how people rated their sexual fantasies in terms of like fear and guilt.
So what sort of fantasies were like the popular ones? You gave them to me before we did this, and I was just like, no surprises here.
Yeah. Right. So, I mean, the biggest by far were submission. Like, so I went through the fantasies and sort of coded them in various ways. So like general submission, and then, sort of within submission, there were different there was like more sort of hardcore, like more physical domination or physical, I don't know. I'm out of practice with the with the BDSM basically BDSM. And that was, a smaller proportion, but still that was sort of like the, one of the more popular fantasies.
That was number one.
Submission, yeah.
Submission. So not necessarily all a kink as much as the submission part of all of it.
Right. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. Varying degrees of like actual physical contact and force.
Upon them.
Yeah,
not
upon
giving
them.
it.
Yeah, well, there was that too, but
but not in the same category as the submission. These were like
right.
Okay.
Yeah. So dominance was a lower. I mean, there were several, but it was lower down on the list.
Yeah. Please introduce me to those lower down on the list, please. No. So it's very interesting. It sounds like you took you feel free to open up. You have this like wonderful. May I touch?
Yeah.
It's like this like hardbound book. I'm just like, it looks like a notebook, and it opens up. It's all printed. Looks very expensive. No, it sounds like you took fantasies and were like, how can I make them as unsexy as possible? Let me like just dissect them and coding. Yeah, you know what's gonna make this hot? Codes.
No, they're pretty sexy, some of them.
Yeah. So what we got?
Yeah.
So we had submission, right?
So submission was number one. Then same sex, female to female, which I thought was interesting. Yeah, maybe not surprising, but I don't know, still very interesting given that it was a primarily heterosexual sample.
Mm-hmm.
And then sort of next I have force, non-consent. So that being a kind of more BDSM type.
Okay.
So that included both sort of a few like more almost like realistic rape fantasies, but also more like clearly consensual.
Like non-con.
Consensual. Yeah.
You know, Dan Savage, he talks about, he tries to take rape fantasies and tries to say, let's call them ravishment fantasies, because at the end of the day, that's what we're fantasizing about.
Yeah, being taken
and ravished, and and I thought that was an interesting way to like respin the rape fantasy, so people aren't like yelling at people with them.
Yeah,
because there's a cluster of people who like are mad that people fantasize about rape, and it's like people fantasize about a lot of fucked up things.
Yeah,
doesn't mean we do them, or doesn't mean it like it takes away from the victims of various things.
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
No, it's a fairly common. And yeah, so there's a whole.
What was last place? What was like the least reported? It was reported enough that it has to be included.
Yes.
But it was the least of them.
Well, I think I wanted to include it.
Okay.
Bestiality.
All right. And wait, so what was the sample size of everybody?
It was
how many?
So for
just to give them an idea.
There were more, but in terms of people who describe fantasies, 462.
And so just to give some ideas, some context, because I can kind of see the numbers.
Yeah.
Being submissive had like 122 people report that.
Yeah.
Bestiality was a lone one.
Yeah. But
she's just a gal looking for a guy with a nice dog, you know?
I know, and strangely, I don't remember what that one was exactly, but there were 5 sex with relatives incest. Which...
I was surprised incest was so low. I feel like that one would be higher for the amount of porn that is like around it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, I just liked, I mean, there were having a penis, only 7. Being, anal sex, 24.
And that's one, I was like, I just would have imagined I would have been further down. Be like, I'd rather fuck a dog than get fucked in the ass. I feel like there are women in this country who feel that way.
Yes, many, but.
So interesting. So how does this align with like your fantasies?
Oh.
Because I gotta imagine that did your fantasies play any, whether it be bias or just maybe the fuel for this in the first place?
I don't know. I mean, I kind of feel like I had and maybe have boring fantasies. So
what's a boring fantasy?
I mean, it's more just sort of like an image of a person that I'm fantasizing. I mean, I don't know. To me, that it's pretty boring. But I think, I mean, I definitely relate to some of the ravishment. So to say, like being someone who I think, I identifies as somewhat anxiously attached. And this is actually something that's kind of interesting. Some research, not really mine, but like beginnings of research showing sort of that like anxiously attached people might be more inclined to have fantasies about like being, extra needed and adored and also sort of taken.
You're describing me. Stop it. It's freaky.
Okay.
That's interesting. Yeah, anxiously attached. Who would have known that was the phrase to describe me all these years? Because I mean, so did I ever tell you why I started this show?
No, not really.
Because women would sleep with me, but they wouldn't date me, and I wanted to have a girlfriend, but they all just wanted to fuck me and not like date me seriously. And I was like, oh well, let's start a show where we find out why. Right. But like, I'm the guy who like, I want a relationship, I want a girlfriend, I want to be loved, I want to be adored, I want to be used, I want to be of service. Right. I want to be. I think my sexual orientation is like wants to be a good boy. Like I don't know. Yeah. And so I find that interesting that there's a word for that. Anxiously attached.
Yeah, you can look into it.
Yeah.
There is hope.
Were there
for the anxiously attached?
Were there any like fantasies reported that like just didn't make it into the list for one reason or another?
Yeah. No, this is, I mean, I could spend a lot more time qualitatively with my data to kind of do more coding and stuff. This was fairly rough, but there was one that I just didn't know what to make of. It was about a can of tomatoes.
Do tell, please.
I wish I had I don't have the text on me, but I can send it in.
I just want to like read it with like a really sexy music in the background and see if I can make tomato juice.
It was about
just
like
tomatoes.
Crushed tomatoes in a can, and just like the idea of it made the person
not putting them on her, or
it was pretty short, but it was like that poem. So much depends on the red wheelbarrow. I don't know if you know that poem. Like, no, I think it's very William Carlos Williams or whatever. But it was like very short, but very like, what was that? Yeah. What just happened there?
And so how'd that feel like? So were you interviewing these women like in person, or were they just getting a questionnaire? Or?
Yeah. So this was online. So it was, perfectly anonymous. Sure. And collected online. And I think, there's a real benefit to that because I think, you never know. I'm sure there was some men who filled it out and and made stuff up. But I think you do.
I'm just saying the can of tomatoes sounds made up.
I thought about that. It could be, but I don't know. But yeah, but it was also, I think it allowed privacy and honesty to come out. I think, that forum. So, and I think what was cool also was that some people just gave me even more information than I asked for, like whether, how they felt about the fantasy, whether they actually wanted to try it out, whether they had tried it out, whether like, and it was not everyone said that. So I didn't kind of look at it in a meta way, but it got me thinking about, what is it like, just that difference. But some people saying like, this is my fantasy, but I would never want to do it. And then other people are like, I'm begging my boyfriend to do it and he like won't, choke me.
Uh-huh. How did it feel reading all these fantasies? Like, I gotta imagine
cool.
You could even feel like connected to these people you don't know.
Absolutely. No, that was awesome. That was an awesome part of it. A lot of data stuff, research is like not fun at all. But reading people's fantasies and a lot of them were pretty boring, which I don't know, can relate to a little bit, like in the sense that they were just sort of like a romantic scene or, walking on the beach with my boyfriend kind of thing. But yeah, it was cool to see like just the range. And I mean, the tomatoes were weird, but like there wasn't really anything that I couldn't kind of like understand in some way. But then again, I am a like psychologist, psychotherapist. So I've, my mind has been sort of trained to, appreciate the whole range of human behavior and sort of, yeah.
And to not move your face when someone says something fucked up. That's like the other key part of a psych is to, when someone says something crazy, you gotta not make a fucking shocked face, which I can't do. I have a bad poker face.
Yeah.
I'd be a terrible therapist.
Yeah.
I'd be a therapist. Like, I'd be helpful. I like to think in what I say, but I would also freak people out when I like have these visceral facial react. I'd have to be a therapist where like you're on the couch and not facing me. That's the type of therapist I gotta be. I gotta imagine anyone who is that therapist is just because they don't have a poker face.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I mean, I think I genuinely don't feel the shock or visceral, from experience. So I think it's very important as a therapist to be, I think to be somewhat transparent, like to not have like actually a poker face because, then the person doesn't have any feedback as to how like then the person doesn't feel as much like a human being interacting with another. Because
like we say something and we're like, we kind of want a reaction. We're just like, I'm trying to get a reaction out of you. I'm trying to see, am I okay? Or is this fucking weird? Like, I'm going to read your face to find out how fucked up I am. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Doing this, wanting to study women's sexual fantasies, for your doctorate. Mm-hmm. Did you get put, are you familiar with Dr. Chantal Tibbles?
No.
She's a sociologist and I think she's a sociologist. She wrote a book called Exposure, and she wanted to study porn. Mm-hmm. She wanted to like, go through porn, and she did kind of this where she like is like coding things. She's taking something sexy and turning it into homework. And she got so much pushback initially for a couple years, just trying to like find her funding to do this because people wouldn't take her seriously. Yeah. Because they're like, Chantel, why do you want to watch people fuck?
Right.
So was anyone like, Sarah, like, why do you want to hear women's sexual fantasies? Are you perverted? Are you doing this, that, and the other thing? Is this so you can get your rocks off?
Right. Well, luckily not that because I was, my grad program at CUNY, City College is pretty traditionally psychoanalytic. And so psychoanalysis kind of is very interested in sex and sexual fantasies. So I got a lot of support in that way. But yeah, I mean, in terms of funding, I tried, didn't get a lot. I think, it's a lot, sexier, not sexier, but, it is in a way in the research community, sexier to fund like depression, PTSD,
things we can make, we can make
really
a pill and then make money off of it. Yeah.
Well, maybe, or maybe not even, but just like, I don't know, just, yeah. I mean, maybe, but also just things that, Yeah, so it's kind of hard to build the case for why it's like important to study sexual fantasies, and I know that that's kind of been true in the larger sex research community. It's, you know, but that's part of why I wanted to study it was, first of all, not to get super bummed out, because I didn't want to study like child abandonment for 6 years. I wanted to study something that like was relevant to kind of I don't know, just like the whole spectrum of humanity, and and was not like too depressing.
Yeah. What so what do you do when you do sex like research like this?
Yeah.
What do you do? So you make your like hardcover book thing you've got in front of you, right? That seems like it's a step at some point.
Yeah. And I haven't told you the findings.
Oh, you didn't? Yeah.
Okay,
So tell me.
The relevant findings for mine was that, okay, so basically that, let's see if I can get it right. So guilt and fear, like the more guilt and fear, and it's all research, and most research is like obvious, but anyway, more guilt and fear you have, the women had about their fantasies, you know, that predicted both, more sort of reports of psychological and sort of interpersonal or relational distress or symptoms, which is not really surprising, but it also predicted sort of less sexual satisfaction. So yeah, all the women were in like some vaguely, they were in some kind of dating situation. So they were asked to rate their both sexual and sort of emotional satisfaction with a current partner. It didn't have to be like an exclusive partner or anything. But
so the more shame you felt, the less
satisfied you were with your current relationship, like both sexually and emotionally speaking, and also the less sex and orgasms you had.
So what could we like, I guess, infer? I once had to look up the difference between infer and imply because I'm a fake smart person. Is there something we can infer from this where like the shame is kind of preventing you from enjoying sex because you're too busy feeling shameful or guilty about the sex, maybe because of the way you were raised, maybe because you're Catholic or religion or whatever, and you're having trouble like enjoying the fucking thing.
Right. Yeah. No, I think so, you know, with research, you can never say anything is like causal or whatever, but to like, I think what I infer from it is that, and particularly as a therapist and clinician, is that, it could be clinically relevant to sort of like talk to a person about their sexual fantasies, in therapeutic settings. And because with the idea that it might, you know, in sort of fostering more acceptance, less shame, guilt, fear, whatever, then the person that would have sort of positive impacts on psychological health, and then, and on romantic satisfaction and sexual behavior as well.
And the shame guilt, did that have any tie to a particular fantasy, or was it just, or was like the lack of having orgasms and sexual satisfaction tied more to the guilt than necessarily the fantasies they have?
Yeah, that we don't know.
Okay. To be determined.
Yeah. So, I mean, I don't think it's like the findings weren't very surprising, but you kind of have to show things.
Sure. Would you, what would be the next thing you would want to research? Or I guess before that, it's like what I was asking before is like, what's the next step in when you publish research, whether it's about sex or whatever, like what's the next thing? You got the book and then you go, do you write a book? Do you submit it to journals? Do you go on CNN? Like,
yeah, not there yet. So, I mean, I think, you know, I've talked to a couple advisors or mentors and so I think I will start by submitting. I think I have about like 3 journal articles worth of stuff here, so I'll try to submit a couple articles. I think the more interesting, that's sort of what I've already done and just kind of editing it and making it appropriate for a journal, like lengthwise and stuff. But I think in the long term, I think I would do more with the actual fantasy narratives and looking at them both more maybe quantitatively and qualitatively. So yeah, like like the question you asked, like I forget the question you asked, but like would be a way to look at the data and kind of look at some more specific things.
Okay. So you were saying like you're talking to like cis heterosexual women or like mostly heterosexual women, and it's being 2018. It's like, what is being straight anyway anymore? Like, is that how do you even qualify that? Do you tell them like what percentage you gotta be of a thing, or like have you had experiences? Like how straight-ish are you? Like, did you make out with a girl in college once, or do you still have like this attraction that you want to be doing?
Yeah. Wait, are you asking me? You're about to ask me.
I guess I'm asking like, what is like being mostly heterosexual, I guess, in this research sense when you're asking.
Yeah, well, so I started this research like 4 years ago, and it's like a different world from 4 years ago even. So, that's my excuse, I guess. I don't know. I think, because if I were to do it now over, I would have, I don't know, at least use like a Kinsey scale. I think there have been other things that have been developed recently that are maybe even, I don't know, better than the Kinsey scale, possibly. Cause I do very much believe in like spectrums, like for most things, like for sexuality, for, whatever, gender, expression, and for like monogamy, and for what else? Like anxiety, attachment anxiety. So I actually looked, rather than like categories, I looked at it in a spectrum. So people can also be anxious and avoidant. Sure.
So for research purposes, when you ask them, like, if they're heterosexual, like, do you kind of qualify with like mostly, like, we all catch as Amy Schumer says, hey, sometimes we all catch a finger.
Right. Well, I think I just simply gave some choices, which was like, I think it was like primarily heterosexual, bisexual, gay or lesbian. I don't remember exactly what it was, or trans, You
gave like
trans.
maybe like a 5 point. Trans
exactly.
wouldn't be the orientation.
And so only the people who identified as primarily heterosexual sort of were then qualified for the study.
Okay, gotcha. Interesting.
But anyone could get the Amazon gift card.
Anyone could get the Amazon
anyone
gift card.
who like even attempted was eligible.
Sure.
So, yeah.
It was interesting. I remember, there's, are you familiar with Dr. Jana Vrangalova's research?
Yeah, she helped me out in that, like on Twitter, like in getting just sort of like, she gave me a little bit of research guidance.
Well, she had research out from like, I think about 4 years ago, which was about like, if you gave a 3-point scale versus a 5-point scale of sexual orientation, so like more people from the middle would like kind of gravitate to, or more people from the ends, like the people who said they were gay or straight, more of them felt comfortable being mostly heterosexual or mostly or somewhat homosexual if they were given like the 5-point scale. So the concept of advocating for like additional sexual orientations, instead of saying like heteroflexible, which is like cute but dumb phrase. I feel like it's like I'm mostly, or I'm somewhat or mostly homosexual, or somewhere mostly heterosexual.
Well, the other way that like made some kind of distinction was that it was the person had to be in a loosely defined dating relationship with a male.
I like that you said dating situation before. It's what are you doing in dating? If it's a situation, let me tell you.
Yeah.
So it's interesting you brought up the Kinsey scale, because I've taken the Kinsey test a few times. Every time.
How did you do?
I fail.
What does that mean?
Exactly. I didn't know you could fail it, but it says fail. It doesn't give me a number. It says literally will say you either answer something incorrectly or you're a very like unique individual.
I actually had an experience like that, not with the Kinsey scale, but in college. Like this was like before Facebook. There was I went to Williams College. I don't know, to the EAFs listening.
Shout out,
probably
EAFs.
None.
Whatever the fucking EAF is.
Yeah, and they had this like EAF match before Facebook, and it was like, I don't know, everybody in the college was like, you fill out a survey and then you were matched with like, you know, your like soulmate or whatever. And
Naturally.
I answered it like honestly, and it yielded no matches.
Oh no! They're like, we have no EAFs for you.
And
Go to
I
a new
think-
school.
But then I told, you know, my friends thought that was hilarious because one of the questions was like, you know, what's your sexual, like, level of like sexual openness or whatever. And it was like, so I chose like, you know, sex on, it was on like the stairs of one of the buildings, Baxter Hall. Like there was, I don't know. So and so when I changed that just to see, then I matched with someone.
You changed it from what to what?
Oh, from like, sure, I'll do it to like, you know, not that crazy.
So when you went from not that crazy, you got matches?
Yes.
So you said, yo, I want to bang in public.
Yeah.
That sounds fun.
Yeah.
And like all the
And
dudes
that
were a little too chicken
disqualified
shit.
me.
Yeah. But then all of a sudden it's like, nah, I can't. You just you pretended to be less adventurous. And then dudes, man, that's unfortunate.
I
Fucking
know.
college boys, step your game up. Stop
Well, it
being
was
little fucking
actually,
wusses.
to their credit, it was like gender non-specific. So I actually matched with a woman, but
Okay.
only when I like
Only when
made
you switched
myself
it
a
off.
little more tame.
Well, it's interesting because we were talking about before. You said like we were talking about like sex life, and you were like, "Oh, I'm like very sexually boring right now." I was like, "Oh, so like," and then you had said like, "Oh, well, we could talk about how I was transitioning into being a sex, you know, researcher." I thought you were gonna say, "Oh, we could talk about how I transitioned into being boring." You could go with that. I mean, so do you find that you've become less adventurous over the years?
Yeah, like at least right now. But I don't know that that's like a. I hope it's not a permanent thing. I think just life goes in waves. But yeah, I mean, nowadays my attention is otherwise focused, like on my primary long-term relationship. And, I mean, I won't get into it, but just I had a recent loss, and just, you know, life has been kind of like shitty in a lot of ways recently. So, so I'm just sort of like, domesticing and sort of like nesting. But I mean, yeah, I will say that I found that monogamy never came like naturally for me, and actually it like caused a lot of pain for me because it just was never my relationship model, just sort of like strict monogamy. And you know, there wasn't, at least I didn't perceive any choice in the matter until I was like mid-20s, and then met like sex positive folks here in New York, and that's cool. And that, I mean, it's definitely been influential in my, you know, my research interests. And
Do you identify as a non-monogamous person?
yes.
And how was that like self-discovery moment for you?
Well, I mean, it was like, I think, like I was saying, it was like, I've always felt that way. So it was just more about like getting some acceptance for it.
Where'd you find your acceptance for it?
I mean, I guess with, you know, the first partner that, I mean, kind of the first partner that I, you know, was sort of like down with the idea of it. But I think more so just with like the community I found, you know, in New York among, I don't even know what you call it, like hacienda burner-ish, even though I'm not like I don't fit
Sexy
into
poly
any
weirdos.
of those things. Yeah, like I'm not a part of any scene, but like, you know, poly cocktail, just like the, there was just a community where I made a lot of good friends and some lovers, and it was, yeah, it was a very positive like time in my life, and I'm still friends with people, but I'm just not as socially active at this time.
Not putting on the glitter as often.
Well, that's bad for the environment. So.
Is it? You're taking away. Fucking environmentalists taking away our glitter too.
Even the biodegradable
Oh, no.
stuff I've heard is not that great.
No.
I know.
But then what else will
I've
we
never
use to look
been-
fabulous?
But you know what? I've never been really into costumes, but I will say that I
costumes.
like to be naked. So,
High five.
and I think that's costume.
Yeah.
Plenty.
When did you know that was the thing I would always say, like when I started going to Hacienda, it's fabulous, it's great, there's all these wonderful themes where you gotta wear costumes, but I hate wearing costumes.
Yeah.
They'd be like, have this theme or that theme. I was like, when did let's get naked and fuck each other get boring as a theme? That's a great theme. Let's do that theme next time.
Right. Yeah. Well, it just becomes like, you feel like you're at like the Grammys or something. I don't know. Not really, but.
Well, I'm not very like costumey creative. Like my creativity doesn't come out in what I wear. I have 2 sex party costumes. That's it. And like maybe I can change I probably have like 6 outfits because I probably have like 3 underwear things I have like 3 bottoms and 2 tops I can wear that makes it look like I tried. And then, so like, it's fucking rough. I'm not a fan.
Do you still go to parties?
Well, Hacienda stopped throwing their big parties. Right. So I've been to some of their like social mixer stuff. Like I went to the underwear party they did. I went to the sexy pool party. Got invited to an orgy upstairs in the hotel room afterwards. That was fun. But like I don't have a party to go to right now. There's a couple parties I like can't go to anymore because just drama.
Drama, okay.
X drama that has like led me to not be able to go to a couple parties I would like to.
Yeah.
So I think the last thing I went to was besides the Hacienda Socials, I went to Lip Service back in January. But yeah, I'm still looking for, a new party to play at or like, group of people. Man-Whore-Con's coming up, so who knows what's going to happen there.
Cool.
Yeah.
I want to hear about what that means.
What Man-Whore-Con is?
Yeah.
Oh, it's a weekend for the fan whores. So I've got listeners from around the country and Canada they travel to New York City and they buy a weekend pass to hang out with me.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
Am I invited?
Sure, come.
Can I be a fan whore?
Yeah, of course. Anyone with the money for a weekend pass can be a fan whore. It's amazing.
Okay.
No, but we also do like I do a stand-up comedy show. We do a live podcast. I'll be on stage with 4 of my exes because I hate myself. If we reach $1,500 pledged on Patreon by August, I'm going to get my nipples pierced.
Oh yeah, I heard that.
Yeah. So it's a fun weekend. We did it last year. It was on a smaller scale and it's looking bigger this year. So I'm pretty stoked, pretty excited. But, there's some private communities where although there is no like Man-Whore-Con sanctioned sex party, there's a lot of like talk about who wants to fuck who and the sex stuff that may or may not be happening during the unscheduled portions of the weekend.
Cool. So there's a lot of like chatter. I mean,
there's chatter.
Oh yeah. How many I don't know, how many followers do you have?
With the podcast, we got several thousand who listen every week. That's awesome. I've got 27 weekend passes sold right now, so that might go up a little bit by August. But a good posse of people to hang out with, and just it'll be cool like hang out with fellow like-minded people because like hey, we're in New York City. We could talk about sex to a lot of people and it's just fine.
Yeah.
You can be bisexual and it's fine. You can say you have this kink and there's a monthly meetup for you.
Right.
But like if you live in fucking Arkansas, you don't necessarily have that community. And so there's some people who are coming partially because they love the show and partially because like, oh, I will get to for a weekend be surrounded by other like-minded people and I don't have to hide. And I don't have to be scared of being into whatever I'm into or whoever I'm into.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of like a cool, beautiful thing that I honestly didn't realize until like earlier this year when listeners would tell me what being part of those communities, felt like to them.
Yeah.
And I was like, I just want to make a living talking about where my dick's been. So this is very lofty for something that had such a low goal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's important work, I think.
Yeah. And so parties, no parties right now, but would like to go to the right one.
Yeah.
I think I'm gonna try going to Wonderland soon.
I was gonna say Wonderland from afar looks great. So
see, from afar it looks like not my thing, but so many people tell me I should go because it feels like it's for EDM heads, costumers, drug people, and kink people. And like I'm not kinky, I don't really do drugs. I like dancing, but not the EDM. That shit sounds like cancer if it was a sound.
Yeah, I hate EDM.
So I'm just like, oh, I can't imagine it's for me. But then I keep getting told like, oh, no, don't worry. You don't have to be. It's compartmentalized. There's a sex room. If you just want to be a sex room, you can dance if you want to dance in the dance room. I'm going to go. I will go to Wonderland before the end of the year.
All right.
And I will try it.
Time for the fan whore appreciation moment because my voice is starting to go away.
That's what a weekend at Desire Resorts will do for you. This is the part of the podcast where I like to thank some of the wonderful members of my fan whore community on Patreon. Y'all are the ones who help keep this show plugging along with not just your downloads, but your dollars. Being a member not only supports the show, but gets you access to all sorts of wonderful rewards, such as bonus episodes of the Man Whore podcast and access to exclusive, private, sex-positive discussion groups like the Champagne Room and the Peep Show. So I want to give a shout out right now to David Patro, whose name, kind of close to patron. Kind of close to Patreon. I think it was meant to be. You were meant to support me, dude. And that you do, and I thank you for it. Shout out to Nicole Fredrickson. You're back. Thank you for coming back. She is a pastry chef in Vancouver, and if she ever wants to, switch her pledge from dollars to brownies, I think I will accept that currency. And a big thank you to Emma Hodkinson. We appreciate your membership. We appreciate your support. And you too can become a member for as little as $1 per month. All you have to do is head on over to patreon.com/manwhorepodcast. That's Patreon, patreon.com/manwhorepodcast. If you're trying to figure out how much you'd like to pledge, maybe think about, Billy's voice sounds a little rough. He could use some tea. And then just look up a local tea shop in Brooklyn. And, that amount will work. Just buy me one tea a month. A tea is, about $2.75 at most of the coffee shops I work at. So that would be appreciated in this present moment. But every dollar counts. Again, patreon.com/manwhorepodcast. Join the community. Support the show. But now let's wrap up with Sarah Constantine. Have you been?
I don't think so. No, and I may try it also.
But you did go to Hacienda parties.
Yes.
And how did you enjoy those?
I thought it was great, but this is going back 3 years now. But I found it was a very very eye-opening, it was small then, smaller-ish.
Right. It was only 80 people.
And it was not, there was you didn't have to buy tickets, and it was more.
Oh, that's old school Hacienda.
Yeah. So I thought it was kind of paradise.
Yeah. I used to go, when I started going to Hacienda, that was back when tickets were $25 to $45. They were just help us pay for food. Help us pay for the DJ. And now it became what it became.
Which is, understandable.
What was group sex a thing that you wanted to explore to see what it was? Or did you discover that was a thing for you?
No, I think it was more something I like to explore, and I would say I have a bit of an exhibitionist bent.
Yeah.
So
you want the eyes on you?
So it was more about that, than actually too much engaging with lots of people. I find that overwhelming.
What was it like the first time, as someone who has an exhibitionist streak in her? What was the first time like being sexual and naked in front of other people, and they're watching you while you do it?
It felt so natural. So I guess that's why I'm an that's how I know that I'm somewhat exhibitionistic. I was I don't know. It just felt I don't know, but exciting. I mean, a little exciting, but not overly exciting. It was just oh, this is sex is just not that big a deal.
You were shocked at how normal it felt to fuck in front of other people.
Yeah. It's so taboo, but it's just it doesn't really. That's another thing that monogamy, it just never made sense to me that sex is bad and sex is shameful. And I can partly, I guess, I definitely don't want to shame any religious people. I have plenty of religious people in my life that I love, but I wasn't raised with any negative sort of taboos and negative associations with sex. So.
I get performative. If I know people are watching me, if they're specifically there watching me, I want to fuck somebody while people are cheering and just go Billy, go. That's fun and hot for me. And it's even less hot as much as people like me.
Right.
I just want to be in a space where people like me.
Yeah.
That's all I want
Goes
these
back
days.
To the anxious
The anxious attachment.
Yes.
Yes, exactly. It comes back around.
Yeah. How? Well, can I ask a question?
Yeah, you can interrupt. You can ask questions.
I was just wondering because you said how you started, why you started the show, but how is dating going, or are you finding people more receptive to commitment?
I've had 2 legitimate girlfriends since starting the podcast. I had one that was almost 2 years long. Then I had one that was more recent. That was 3 months. Both ended. Well, one ended more sad. The other one ended very, very angrily. Mm-hmm. I'm dating is dating. I think the big thing I had to focus on, I started the show when I was 24 and I had to realize, maybe calm the fuck down. But I think that was a big turning point for me was going like, I can enjoy having the sex I'm having, and a relationship will come about when it does. Mm-hmm. And that not everyone I get fifis for necessarily is going to become a girlfriend, and that's okay.
That's true.
And there's a lot of that happened earlier on in this show that made me feel okay with it. But yeah, no, I've had some girlfriends that were serious, and I've fallen for people. I've had my heart broken. I have broken hearts. It's it's a journey.
It's
a
how
process.
It works. Yeah.
Just living my 20s on air for everyone to hear. That's weird. I started was 24. I'm 29. I just turned 29. Also, happy birthday to you.
Oh, thank you. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's weird when you're like living your life so publicly for really everyone. And now it's like a substantial period of my life because it's basically all my 20s.
Yeah.
So that's weird. Meanwhile, you just like, quality and code everyone else's.
Yes.
Yeah. Interesting.
Well, not everyone else's. And I will say that my sample was, I want to say it's like skewed to people who, because I recruited through Reddit, and Reddit was like the majority, and then, like Facebook and Twitter a little bit, and, Craigslist. But so it was, I would say definitely like people who skew towards spending more time like on the internet. Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, do people who spend more time on the internet, like, how does that skew the research? Because are those people more sexually open, or have more shame, or have a particular type of fantasy? I mean,
yeah, and those are great questions that I don't have the answer to. But there were a couple of things, like most of the women were not married. Mm-hmm. Most of them did not have children. And a very, like, more than half of the people reported, self-reported like depression, or anxiety. So I think, which is more, a lot of people have depression, but not like 50 or 60% of the population. So there was sort of like, there were some indications.
That's also self-reporting of like, well, like, do you
how do you define
it's
that?
like, do you just feel anxious sometimes, or like, do you actually have like some sort of anxiety disorder? It's like the people who say like, I'm OCD. It's like, no, bitch, you're not. Like, you're just you're tidy.
Right. If you're calling yourself OCD, most likely you are not. True. And also largely sort of identified as like non-religious. So that was another skew.
Well, Reddit certainly don't like that religion. That our atheism is very popular. Very popular. Sarah, thank you so much for talking to me. Is there anything else about your research you think we need to know, like right now?
I don't know. Not that I can think of.
Okay. Well, where can people find you? Where can they read or check out your research or your work or your writings?
That's a good question. I mean,
I hope you know the answer to it.
Yes. I mean, are we talking about like an email? Or
Twitter?
Yeah. I mean, right now.
Are you published somewhere? Or?
No, not yet. So I'm working on that.
Okay. Do you have Twitter or another thing?
I don't really do Twitter. That was only for recruitment.
For recruitment. Okay. Because I feel like that's where I first connected with
I mean,
you.
I am on Facebook.
Okay.
But yeah, I'm sort of still developing my research persona, I guess.
Cool. Well, Sarah, thanks so much. And why don't you go ahead and say goodbye to everybody?
All right. Yeah. Thanks for listening, and goodbye.
Go live out them fantasies, everybody.
Yeah.
Except that one person with the bestiality fetish. I'm pretty sure that's a crime in most states. Well, fellas who dig ladies, I hope you were taking notes on the fantasies, okay? This really was more of a study session for you, if anything. But I hope you all enjoyed my conversation with Sarah Constantine. Go check her out on the social media and keep your eyes open and peeled for her work in the future. Of course, you can follow me on social media. I am on Twitter and Instagram at @TheBillyPresida. Say hello. Use the hashtag #ManWhorePodcast. Let me know what you thought about the show. You know, maybe don't threaten to rape me just because I make fun of vegans. That might be nice. But, you know, it's the internet. You technically have free speech. Do your thing. This is a thing you can do that I would like. Go on to Facebook, search The Man Whore Podcast. Click that like button. We post a lot of interesting content over there. That's where you're going to see me post articles, memes, pictures, you know, stuff that maybe I'm not sharing all around, but that are relevant to the show. There's also plenty of pictures from Desire on all my social media. I want to say thank you again to my lovely, I think we're calling her a fan whore with benefits is the phrase she would like. My fan whore with benefits, Kenzie, not only for co-hosting in the intro, but just for a wonderful weekend down in Mexico. Get yourself some merch, people. We got that Man Whore Podcast merch available. We got the Stay Slutty panties. We got the Saving Pegging for Marriage t-shirts, which, fun fact, one woman down at Desire saw me wearing it around the pool, and then she went immediately to her room, and she bought 3 shirts. So we like Kelly. She's great. She also said if something's near her mouth, she'll put it in. So that you know, she's a special gal. You can go to gumroad.com/manwhorepodcast if you want to get some merch. You'll see a link in the show notes. And last but certainly not least, join the Fan Whore community on Patreon for access to bonus episodes and exclusive sex-positive discussion groups, and really just to have more access to me. Head on over to patreon.com/manwhorepodcast. Get yourself a membership. They start at just $1 a month. And trust me, that $1 a month makes a world of a difference for me. One more time, Patreon, patreon.com/manwhorepodcast. Next week, we've got Ginger on the show. We're going to be talking about makeout parties and creepy friends of the family. But until next week, everyone, I hope you enjoy yourselves and stay slutty.